Hi everyone and welcome to this week's The Recovery. And on this week's show, I have the amazing Jason Donovan. And I've been wanting to do this for ages. I've been wanting to talk to you for so long.
Yeah.
I love your story. You know, because when I tell people, oh, I'm getting Jason to do the recovery, they're like, really? What's he recovering from? Because people don't really know your story. It's kind of really weird. You either had to be there at the time and then it just disappeared. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Kind of like the showbiz cloud of everything else. Kind of people don't really know your story, and I think your story is fascinating.
Well, I mean, you know, listen, I think, you know, I think it's an interesting time to talk about. I mean, this year has been a tough year for all of us, and mental health has been a, massive part of, a lot of people, have had to deal with stuff they probably haven't had to deal with. And mental health has sort of come to the fore in a way. I mean, my story is a pretty good one because the ending is probably where a lot of people would want to be. But Tony, I don't really look back so much. I try to look forward in life,
I'm the same. I think it's very important. I talk a lot about my story and my past, just in past content, because it doesn't define who I am today. Today and tomorrow define who I am. And I kind of, when I went away to treatment, I came from treatment, and on the last day of treatment, they said, you can't go back to London. You can't go back to DJing. And I kind of was like, I'm not going back to neither, I'm going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I've never really had treatment, I mean, I didn't even drink until I was 35, so, I love a glass of wine now, like anyone. I guess, for your particular, interview, I guess we're talking about a period in my life where, things sort of got out of control. I mean, I surpassed even my own dreams. And how do you process that sort of shit,
You don't.
When I grew up as a kid, I grew up in Melbourne in a very sort of middle class existence. And, I was brought up by my dad. My parents split when I was very young. And, I was surrounded by actors. And if you know what that is like, and I love acting and I love actors, but they love themselves, and I'm one of those people. But to articulate, my dad, who's still alive and is my hero in a way. He'd love to have a drink, and it changed him, and I never really got that. I never could quite understand it, probably because he brought me up on his own, and that was a person that I saw that I didn't like. So I went down a different path, and that was smoking, really, I suppose, at that time. And it was far more comfortable for me, and less aggressive and more chilled. And and then I guess what happened in 1985, 1986 with the success of Neighbours, and that sort of spiraled out of control, and my focus that went on to that, and the subsequent record success that I had through Stock Aitken Waterman. I was working extremely hard.
Jason,
what comes up must go down.
But Jason, what goes from being that kid that's smoking and then suddenly propelled, and I mean propelled really quickly, from Neighbours to chart success and being Jason Donovan, is a really lot for somebody to take on board.
Sure.
That kind of amount of fame and that amount of pressure and the amount of show ponying that we have to do, and you have to do to maintain that level of success. Because everyone wants a piece of you, and there's never anything left for you. And it's a lot to cope with. How did you cope with it?
Well, luckily, you know, for me, Tony, I was always aware that it was going to end.
Yeah.
And I was always aware that you don't surround yourself with yes people. I've always, if you know people who know me, they sort of say he's a relatively down-to-earth, sort of easy type of guy. He's a hard worker. You know, I've never lost focus of my craft. That's what's kept me going. And the other thing that's kept me going as well is physical fitness. I'm a firm believer that mental health and physical fitness go hand in hand. You know, in those sort of darker periods for me, you know, I was still aware of the adrenaline of, you know, going to the pool and, you know, going for a swim or going for a run, or I ride my bike everywhere. I still do today. You know, so, you know, I never really lost sight and focus of the person that I was prior to all the, you know, the stuff that went on. I mean, I've said in a lot of things, how do you measure success? What does success actually mean? And the fundamental thing as I get older, it is less and less about, you know, charts and whether you look good in the papers or whether you're, you know, you've done your best dance on Strictly, or whether, you know, it's about how you feel inside. Now that's okay from someone who's had a little bit of that. Do you understand? I've had those moments that I can still pin up and go, wow, look what happened to me. And, you know, a lot of my dreams come true. But what do you do after that? You know? So fast forward to me, and I guess in line with your interview, or our conversation rather, you know, for me, the turning point that made that realization sort of, you know, come home was the birth of my daughter and creating a family. It was a different phase, and that happened for me in 2000. And, you know, as a subsequent, I've never really looked back since then on, I've only looked forward because I've got my kids and my family and a network that make me want to get out of bed each day, you know, for all the right reasons.
I mean, for me, you know, when that, how do you gauge success? For me, success today is staying clean and being of service and being kind to myself. If I go to bed knowing that I've been self-loving, that's success. You know, my career and whatever else I do is my job. And I don't get me wrong, I love what I do more than anything in the world, because it's what I was born to do. I truly believe. Yeah. But, you know, success today is about, if I got through the day and I've not been self-loathing, or I've got through the day and I've been kind to myself, which means I'm enabled to be kind to other people, that's success. And I just think, you know, we, in our careers, especially, you know, in the music industry and stuff like that, you know, we're only as good as our last gig. So that's what people think, and that's what people say to you. And that's so not true.
You've got a passion. I've got a passion, you know, and that as long as you never, I say to my daughter, who is, you know, currently in Australia doing Neighbours, just keep your focus.
Is she in Neighbours?
Yeah, she's now in Neighbours now, which is sort of a full circle. But I guess also for me, mate, at one point, you know, the irony about my career is that, you know, particularly in those Neighbours days when, you know, and that sort of Kylie and Jason and then Stockake and Waterman, I never thought I was cool, you know. But there's no such thing as being cool.
No,
and it takes a life journey to realize that is bullshit, you know.
100%.
Cool about being yourself and holding yourself tall, you know, and you know, surviving the ups and downs, you know, and you know, it's just about staying true to yourself, I suppose. You know, I still question a lot of decisions I've made, you know, and I don't regret, because I think it's a wasted emotion, regret. You know, there's been some things I would have liked to have done differently, But I now know in my life, particularly, you know, having, as I said, I went out in about 1994 and came home in about 2000.
Yeah.
I really honestly now know what I don't want to do. And that's powerful. That's really
That's
powerful.
it. That's the magic. That is the magic.
Yeah.
You know, it's that when we get to that moment of knowing what we can and can't do. You know, people say to me all the time, "Oh, if you could go back, what would you change?" There's tiny bits of things that I would change. In hindsight, none of it. My life was hell for 28 years, but I wouldn't change it because that's made me who I am today. And I wouldn't want to make those mistakes again. I've made them. Do you know what I mean?
I'd like better teeth.
I got better teeth.
I know. I can see.
Anything's doable.
Jealous. The problem with this interview, Tony, is unfortunately we're doing this in late November, and normally, you know, one of my great loves in the world is the sun and vitamin D, and we're all sort of seeing that at the moment, how important that is to not just our energy and our health. And you know, I have vitamin D supplements, but no matter how hard I try, you know, as if I have a little bit of sun on my face, the teeth always look better.
Always, you know that.
Always.
I am such, you know, the biggest thing about the whole lockdown thing was coming out of lockdown and being able to go back on a sunbed. You know, even where, like, I've been addicted to sunbeds for God knows how long.
Yeah, you got to be careful there.
I know I am. Yeah, but you know, got to be careful crossing the road. That's the way I look at it.
Of course.
And you know, the amount of people that go frown on it for the fact that I use sunbeds. But you know what? It's a really good source of getting vitamin D. You know, even when fake vitamin D, that's enough for me some days. Do you know what I mean? But you know, it's all about. For me, I think the more I lay in the sun, I just feel more energized from those natural resources. Whereas before 28 years, I didn't go in the sun. I spent my life in clubs and every piss-stained alleyway. Do you know what I mean? Just to avoid the sunlight.
Yeah, no, I was the opposite, the absolute opposite. I could cover a lot up by a suntan, you know, and highlights in the hair, and you know, some decent clothes, and you can get back out there and, you know, go for it again, you know, and as an Australian, you know, salt water and, you know, an outdoor lifestyle. You know, I talked about my dad before, and, you know, my father is, as I said, he's in his 80s now. He's still swimming. He still, you know, does 30 or 40 laps, and, you know, he's 85. And I, there's a lot of things sometimes I've questioned about him, but at the same time, sorry?
Does he still drink?
He loves a drink. He loves a drink. And do you know what? He loves a drink. And you know, that can always, my dad's very honest, you know, and that can be confronting for a lot of people. Unfortunately, we know with alcohol, it promotes honesty and you know, and I think anything, you know, as long as it's sort of in a balance, is okay. It's when, you know, the body starts to get used to something and wants to get to point B before they've even, you know, just taken off from point A, you know. So it, but, you know, he, I don't see him enough to, you know, that's never really a confrontation, you know, aspect to our relationship anymore. You know, as I said, I now, you know, I love a drink now. I absolutely adore, you know, I adore a drink, but I also, you know, love the fact that during the week I can sort of focus on work, and on the weekend, you know, open a bottle of wine and have a good.
You're in a very lucky position to For me, I can't.
Yeah, I know.
I understand. I'll be gone from till next 2021. Christmas 2021 if I was to have a drink tomorrow, you know, because I don't have a stop button. And a lot of people who go through what they go through, you know, they can suddenly develop a little problem in a different area. Doesn't make them an addict, and it doesn't make them, you know, whereas I know I'm an addict. It's been proven on every, from food to sex to alcohol to drugs. I have a problem with bloody everything. So I have to avoid everything like the plague, and I have to do everything I do within limits. Otherwise, I can go into flow, whether it be sushi or whether it be training in Battersea Park.
Yeah, you know, sure.
As soon as I get that moment of high,
extreme.
I love this. I'm off and running.
Yeah,
like you when you're biking. Do you know what I mean? It's just that feel-good feeling, and when you come home, you think, I love that. And of course, 20 minutes later, I want it again.
Yeah,
I'm not like normal people, and I have to remember that. Do you know?
I mean, I think we're all a little bit like that, but I think some people can temper it more than others. You know, and I've noticed particularly with you, you focus it into your work a lot now, which is you know, which is the right place to be. You know, I mean, again, from me, you know, I've always been challenged by, I've never been a natural performer, even though some people might question that. I still have anxiety about performance, and I still worry about, as a, you know, but I have an absolute, it's a drug performing for me. That is an adrenaline rush. So if I'm learning a script, and you know, hey, I ain't, you know, Liam Gallagher from Oasis, you know, singing out there. But what I do is, you know, is very challenging, whether it's Chicago this year or Joseph last year, or you know, Dancing on Ice, which I'm doing at the moment. I absolutely, my world gets encompassed by what I'm doing, and I don't need anything else.
No, because that's it. You go into flow. As I say, if I have sushi on Monday and it's delicious, I'll have it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, regardless of any other food being on the planet. I go into flow with it. Anything that I get engrossed in becomes flow, and I can't see out of that. So that can be good things, and it can also be bad things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I remember we've got quite a few friends.
Yeah, we have.
And one of them,
have we met?
You know what I mean? One of them I used to get off my nut with. She used to say to me on date every time I was with her, "Oh, you and Jason get on really well." And I'm like, "Oh, get out of here! He's too clean cut for me. We'd never get on." And she was like, "No, you really would." And I was just like, "Listen." And I remember going to see you in Joseph one time, and I remember, this is years ago, and I remember saying, "He looks off his nut in that." Like that whole past January, how many nights a week does he do this? And then someone said, "No, he's like 5 nights, 6 nights, and a matinee." And I was like, he can't do that on his own. Do you know what I mean? He's played so judgmental of other people, because that's what, you know, we judge each other by our own standards. And I remember laughing about it afterwards, thinking, God, Tony, you accuse absolutely anyone. Doing a decent job as doing it in the wrong way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. No, look, I think, you know, theatre particularly, you know, is an absolute discipline, and you've got to be an athlete when you work 8 shows a week. It is, you know, and that's sort of what I'm talking about, you know. You know, for me, you know, the early part of the 90s, I just had to, as I point out, crash the car a little bit, because I was driving it so everything was falling into place, and I wanted to, you know, was I being me? Was it cool? Was it not cool? I was in my early 20s, you know, I was changing physically, mentally, and you know, I wanted to just be the kid that took the surfboard down the coast and went surfing, and didn't really give a stuff about what people, you know, thought of me. I had a lot of media attention too, and I think, you know, I think I've always been quite philosophical, you know. I mean, the media, it's really interesting time that we're living through it, because through phones, through social media, we are the newspaper, the journalists. We can control, but many years, you know, if you're young and you're in that spotlight, it is very intense, and the media are only interested in 2 things: when you're up and when you're down.
100%.
Okay,
You know,
and the middle ground is not sexy. It's not exciting.
I mean, we've had quite a few people do this on the recovery, like Meg and loads of other people, that the media try to ruin their lives, you know, and it's kind of just like, you know, it's how they come through it. And, you know, and at that point in time, you know, as you say, you're either up, they love you, or you're down and they destroy you even more. You know, there is no, that middle ground is a really dangerous place to be within the media world. And I just think that I just started to notice it again in my own life. People have started to been selling stories to a certain paper again. And over the last couple of weeks, something leaks about a TV show that I'm doing, and then something else. They rang us, emailed us about some story someone had given them about me and a close friend, and it was all rubbish. But you know, it's just like made me realise that the world that I'm living in is changing yet again, and you know, it made me question even my own dog. I was thinking, did she leak it? Where did this come from? You know, the power of media is so bad. You know, we live in a world where we tell people things and they tell someone else, and it goes onto social media and blah blah blah. No one, you know, what if you were to sell a story in this day and age, you'll probably get about £4.50. Do you get what I mean? But
yeah, of course.
But because it's out there anyway, and we just have to. What I've learned is at 55, which I am now, is to keep my bloody mouth shut every now and then. Do you get what I mean?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I've never really had that problem. You know, I've always been quite aware of, you know, the relationship between the media is a tug of war, and you've got to, you know, let's be honest, sometimes you've got to use them and they use you, you know, and you know, I'm not going to say, you know, but in a general sense, you know, overall, they're only interested when you're flying high and when you're on the ground, and life, having kids, you know, riding to school is not that sort of interesting, but most of our lives are lived in the middle ground. You know, that's the sort of the way it is. But I care less and less about that as I get older, because as I get older, the most important things, and life is a cliche, you know, it is about the relationships you develop with your friends. It's about the friends that you still have, you know, because there's only a bunch of people I really call these days. You know, it's not, you know, Brown's 98, you know.
Thank God it's not Brown's 98.
Thanks,
That's what I can say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I had to celebrate a birthday, and it was just with really close friends. And this year, every year I always have a big party, and every year I always say, why have I done this on the day? And then yesterday when I celebrated my birthday, it was just me, the dog, the boyfriend, a couple of friends, and it was actually bliss. It was so bliss, because the only attention I was getting was from the right people, apart from social media, obviously, and all of that stuff. But it was actually, I went to bed last night thinking that's probably one of the best birthdays I've ever had, because I didn't put myself into that arena. I didn't put myself into the whole, okay, you've all got to come to my party, the expectations on Tony, or any of that stuff, because, you know, that's the parties and all that stuff is what I do for a living. So coming home, people find it really hard to believe that I'd rather come home and watch Dancing on Ice or anything else.
Or whatever. Yeah,
that's the way I chill out, and that's the way I kind of meditate, in a sense.
Yeah.
I zone out watching that stuff. You know what I mean?
You're interesting, I think, because you do things with a sense of humor, and that surely has to be, you know, the longevity of, you know, of our mental health in a way. And again, I keep coming back to mental health. It is a really interesting time, and interesting is probably not, it's a delicate time for a lot of people. So, you know, when I open your feed, because you're controlling your own newspaper, do you understand that? And you put a smile on my face, you know, and it's slightly wicked, and it's slightly, you know, melancholic and absurd and bizarre, but those sort of, and yet you'll still punch in with a great line about, you know, mental health, or, you know, looking after, you know, making sure women are, women's, you know, rights are looked after, and, you know, men's health, mental health and suicide and all the topics that
yesterday,
mean something.
I posted a meme about a woman finding a pair of knickers in her husband's pocket, and some woman messaged me straight away and was like, it's really bad that you're portraying women like that. It's not about the woman, it was about the man. You just read it how you wanted to read it. It wasn't posted in that context of, oh, this woman's a silly cow because she felt like it was about the man's cheating. And I can do that because I've cheated and I'm being cheated on. Therefore, I can find the humor in that. And I tried to explain her, and then she came back and she was like, oh, now you put it like that, I get it. And I was like, when you follow me, you have to see things. I'm not some beer-bellied guy like posting sexist and homophobic and racist rubbish. I'm posting things that are funny and that I've lived and that I find the humor in, because I've been in that dark place, and now therefore I can see it as a lighter place. And I post it, and I just think, and I said to her, what's going on for you? And then she literally started to tell me about her ex-husband. This is all like, like in a matter of 3 minutes. That's the power of Instagram, and that's the power of the media, of what we do. You know what I mean? How are you going to cope with being in Dancing on Ice?
How am I gonna? It was a funny decision, Dancing on Ice, because it's I've done Strictly before, and
where did you come in that?
Sorry,
where did you come in Strictly?
Third. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. I came in 2011, and that was an awesome experience. I think Dancing on Ice. I've done a little bit of ice skating in my life. I love winter sports. I also, in this sort of strange year that we're all having, a show like that needs time. And I'm a believer that if you're going to commit to, an experience like that, you need to give it time. Otherwise, you might as well, again, a bit like me, you're either in 100% or you're not. You're not. So, and I've been training locally, for the last 4 weeks. But do you know what? I and before I was asked to do it, I thought I'm going to go and do a few little sessions by myself to see whether I liked it. And I actually really love this feeling. And it goes back to, again, a little bit like adrenaline for me. It's a bit dangerous. It's a bit, and I'm attracted to that sort of challenge in my life, and again, that goes back to, what we're talking about, keeping focus and structure. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes what tends to happen, particularly with a lot of people that go down these, darker roads, is they lose a bit of structure in their life. Things go to their head, and, they don't know quite how to have a sort of a work ethic. And there's a reason why we have to have structure in our lives, I think. Sometimes it's like why you go to school, to try and install. It's not necessarily about the academia or the how good you are at sport. It's about trying to, when you get dressed up in the morning, trying to find, you've got to leave home at 9, you come home at 3:30. It's about teaching us how to, perform in life.
It's a spine for life. Do you get what I mean? It's the spine that kind of, without it, we just turn to mush, and we turn into without a spine, we're just helpless, and it keeps us upright. I truly believe a structured day. I get up every morning at 7:30. If I sleep beyond that, it ruins my day. Right. I get up and I leave my bedroom and I sit on the sofa for an hour and a half on social media, and then I go and work out in the park or do what I have to do. But it's that structure of doing that every day. If I sleep beyond that, it throws me. It really does. And I just, I think
do you eat well?
Yeah. Oh my God, I've just lost 10 kilos.
Yeah, you're looking fit, man.
Yeah, 10 kilos on the keto diet. So I've been doing a high protein diet.
Right.
Just come off of that for a week's non grata, going back on it again as of tomorrow. I feel I've never felt better.
Are your parents still alive?
My mum's still alive. My mum's down in Hythe with her new husband.
Right.
My dad died 10 years ago.
Right.
And, you know, it's...
Where were you brought up?
Huh?
Where were you brought up?
I was brought up in Battersea, South London. So I was born in Plymouth, I moved to Battersea, lived in Battersea, trying to make it sound posher than it really is. There's no T's in it, Battersea.
Yeah.
I moved to Battersea and grew up in Battersea, and then basically ended up on the King's Road from about 14 onwards. So kind of then it was all around different areas of London. I lived in Soho for 16 years from a really young age. So that kind of structured me more.
Sure. Well, yeah.
Kind of who I am today. But you know, it's I'm Londoner. Love London.
Yeah. I love London too. You know, I'm you know, I love the seasons. I think you know, I think this country is, you know, full of history. I love Australia too, but you know, I've been lucky in this country. I don't believe in luck. I think you create your own luck in life. I really firmly believe that. But I was very fortunate to sort of, you know, being you know, handled with care by a lot of people in this country.
You've been loved in this country.
I have, and I've made a, you know, I've made a home. And I love the neighborhood that I live in. I really love the neighborhood that I live in, and it feels like, you know, I look forward to coming back here. But there's also a wonderful part of me that knows that I can, you know, escape to this great southern land that is just free, and the food is fantastic, and the coffee is just unbelievable. Do you drink coffee?
I don't drink coffee. No,
you don't. Wow,
I could freebase cocaine for a week without shaking, and one cup of coffee makes me shake. Like seriously, it's awful. I can't breathe. My chest closes. It spirals me out like Red Bull. Anything with that amount of caffeine.
What were you like when the dentist gave the injection for you before you'd had your teeth done?
The worst.
You must have been shaking.
The worst. You know, I can't. You know, that needle, and then of course, you know, being 55 and you have to have a little bit of work done here and there. I'm all right with those facial needles now. You know, but I anything that goes in my mouth, those long needles. Oh no.
Right.
Gas me, put me asleep.
Gas.
Yeah, totally. But you know, it's a weird one because in the last lockdown I had all this done at my house.
At your house. So talk to me. I mean, I don't want to flip it on you, but tell me about your teeth.
Because I broke them all off. Like, it's very well documented. But I used screwdrivers and things. I had a thing called meth mouth where my mouth got infected, and I thought that psychotically I thought I had animals living in my mouth. And over the course of about a year to 18 months, I literally pulled all my teeth out apart from one tooth.
Right.
Because I was psychotic, and I thought that, you know, my face was always so numb on drugs. And
that's pretty hardcore.
Oh yeah, it was you know, it was kind of like the last stage before death.
It'd want to be.
So then when I got into treatment, I've come out of treatment and I still have one tooth, and then I went and had all my full dental cleanse. They removed everything from my mouth. Then they found out I had a weak bone in my jaw, so I had to have that worked on. Then since then, it's been a course of over the years to get them done. And what happens is I had them all bridges and gaps, bridges, implant, bridge, implant. And so basically it all screws in. But the thing is, when you go, like, you grind your teeth, the back teeth go after a certain amount, like up to 4 or 5 years. So I've had to have them replaced so many times. And the last time was in lockdown. And I just thought, you know what?
Right.
They need to be whiter, and they need to be bigger, and they need to be more goofy.
Right.
So I had them all done in lockdown. The guy came
again.
Yeah, because I was just going to have the backs done, and I just thought, you know what? Just go for it.
Yeah, so, I thought you normally, someone says you have to put a guard in just to see whether you do actually grind your teeth or not. Yeah.
But the way I look at it is like, just get them done again. And next year's lockdown. Do you know what I mean? No, but it's like these ones are like the best. It just takes time.
Right.
To learn to talk again. It takes time to
right,
pronounce things without listening.
right.
It's really odd, and it feels like you got like breeze fluxing your mouth constantly,
right.
For the first 6 or 7 months, and then of course it all settles in.
Yeah.
And you know, I was very lucky this time once you put them all in and screwed it all in and put it in. It was very tight, but it's great, and it's like, you know, I could not think of anything worse than having no teeth again.
Right.
I had nightmares about it, like serious bad nightmares. You know, it was one of the joys of recovery, and learning to smile again without looking like Wallace and Gromit is a really hard thing.
Right.
It's a really hard thing because, you know, I never smiled for years, Jason. For about 10 years, I didn't smile. I would hide behind my hand. And if anyone talked to me, I wouldn't look at them. And learning to smile and smile in photographs and laugh again without looking like some kind of psycho takes time. Do you know what I mean? It's taken a good 5-6 years just to learn how to smile again properly.
Yeah, I can see they're good teeth, you know, and my teeth can get a little yellow, and I think that's a hereditary sort of thing. And
how old are you now?
You know, I've thought about sorry.
How old are you now?
I'm 52. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, come on.
Yeah. It's sort of, you know, it's sort of at that stage where you think, but I haven't been that quick on the uptake. You know, there's been too sort of much, you know, else going on. And then, as I said, if I, you know, if it's a good summer, you know, a bit of sun, your teeth sort of start to, But I never went as far as you did. You know, with that mouth sort of.
I don't think anyone went as far as I did.
That sounds crazy, man. Jesus, screwdrivers.
Yeah.
Wow, a bit of DIY.
It was awful. And bits of like toothpicks and sticks. Because I bite my nails, so my fingers are always in my mouth anyway.
Right.
And then, of course, after being out for 3 or 4 days, I'll be like, I would get so dehydrated because I didn't drink water. The only water I had was like distilled spring water in Jack Daniels and ice. Kind of, my gums would dehydrate and recede, and then they would really itch, and I would just, it was awful.
Yeah. How's your health? How's your health now, though?
My health is incredible now. I've never been healthier.
Right.
You know, the beginning of lockdown, I kind of was like so big and so fat at the end of lockdown. I mean, the first lockdown, someone sent me a video the other day because I was like, I'm having a really bad day, and they sent me this video of me in Battersea Park feeding the parrots. Oh my God, like enormous,
really?
Enormous, like just bloated, and I just, you know, I'm just so blessed that I at 55 I've managed to lose the weight, and I feel better than I've ever felt. I really do. I actually feel fantastic right now.
Have you ever done a juice week?
Yeah, loads of times. So I was juicing. Like I literally I was going through phases. Like I'm only juicing, and I take it. A week was never enough, so it had to be a juice month.
Right.
And,
right.
But you know what I was doing? Of course. But what I was doing was I was juicing like pineapple, mango, watermelon, all the high sugar drinks and apples.
Yeah.
I was putting on more weight than I was losing.
Yeah, sure. Have you ever heard of Jason Vale's juicing week though?
No.
Which is in Portugal. You must do that. It's wonderful, you know, and it's about meditation, and he really puts on you know, it's all about diet. So it's not just about juicing, it's about, you know, how you live. You do lots of walking, you do lots of exercise, you mix with a different group of people. And it's, you know, if you're ever.
That sounds amazing, because I've been offered like loads of times asked to go on those boot camp things, you know, to the body camp in Ibiza and stuff, and I've always like turned it down. But you know, I think that this spring I'll definitely do one, because I mean, I run up hills in Battersea Park. Where did that come from? And at 9:30 in the morning, I'm out sprinting with my trainer, and like feeling good after it. And I mean,
wow.
I never ever run.
I love that. I love that.
It's insane. I'm literally like loving it, and like the days that I'm not going training, I'm like, oh, I should go training today. Like, but I'm trying to just
keep
in the day. Otherwise, I'll turn into, you know, I'll be going on a complete.
You'll turn into Goldilocks, mate.
Today I went to a meeting earlier, and I came out of the meeting, and as I was leaving, my counsellor was with my counsellor, and she said, "Tony, can I say something to you before you go?" And I was like, "Yeah, what?" And she went, "Don't lose any more weight." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, well,
that was
it's
great."
it's a good point, you know, and I
Yeah.
see this a lot. I see this a lot, you know, and you know, this is another part of, you know, mental health and, you know, kids and teenagers looking at themselves on social media and, you know, sort of, I think, you know, slowly, you know, there is a generation that is trying to educate itself on how, you know, we can perceive others. Are you there?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
I lost you for a sec. And I see some people, you know, who diet, and some people who, you know, look too thin and are trying to chase. You know, if you look back at photographs of yourself, and you will see the changes. And again, you know, life is fragile. It's about trying to find the balance, and we're all after something, and we're all trying to, you know, trying to live our best lives. It's you know, yeah, I think diet's a really interesting
Well,
thing. I've never had a problem with weight, so I don't
oh, I
understand
did.
that
I
so
was
much.
a fat
But
kid.
I'm a, you know, I can't sit still. You know, I find it very difficult to, you know, relax. That's probably my, you know, I'm an OCD. You know, I love cleanliness.
So am I.
Yeah,
OCD and I ADHD as well, which I always say it's ADHD because it's even more exaggerated than normal ADHD. You know, it's like
I've
it's
got
over dramatic.
my bed linen and my bed are just my absolute. I have to have, you know, perfection in that. But I see, you know, I see a lot of, you know, a lot of men, and a lot of women who, you know, in the spirit of trying to look good, end up, you know, looking gaunt
Yeah.
and not great at all. Actually, I
No.
find, you know, I see that a lot.
I
I see
think
that
though
a lot.
I've got to the stage in my life where I have some really good people in my life that always say to me, "Okay, stop doing this, stop doing that. Enough's enough." And they're in my life for a reason, because I will actually listen to those people. So
Sure.
you know, it's a real danger of when I start to feel good, I want more of it. So with this, I've got to a level. That's why I kind of come off keto for a bit, and I'm going to go back
Right.
on it just so that I could come out, eat a bit of pizza, and go back into it, because the food suits me. I love cheese, I love protein, I love fish. I don't eat meat.
Chocolate.
Love chocolate more than anything in the world, but that's my biggest demon. See, sugar.
Right.
Sugar's the one thing now that can control me.
Yeah.
So I was doing a sugar detox for about 8 or 9 days. I'm at my peak. I feel amazing. I have more energy. If I start to introduce chocolate into my diet, like today I've had cookies. If I
Right.
by 7 o'clock I'm asleep on the sofa.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
knocks me out,
Wow.
because I have
Wow.
that sugar
Yeah.
rush,
Sure.
and then it's that
And
dip,
then
and
down.
I hit the floor hard.
Wow.
And
Wow. That's amazing.
it comatizes me, and the feeling that it gives me a real come down, and I don't
Right.
like that feeling. So to avoid it, is a really big thing for me. I just need to stay away from it. So
And where's your happy place, Tony? When are you the most happiest, man?
well, my happy place is actually on my sofa, looking out into my garden.
Right.
About 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, when my partner's asleep, just me and my dog, and I sit
Mm.
there with all the lights off, just looking into the garden. But I'm about to move, so
Right.
I've lost my happy place. So I don't know
Okay.
where, it's it's about finding new happy places, and I've been in this house for 8 years, and when I came here, it was enough, and now my life's just got so much busier and bigger that it's too small, and I love it here, but
Yeah.
we found a new place around the corner, 3 times bigger, and it's got a beautiful conservatory. So I think you know.
It'd be great. It's change.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, change, though. Change is tough, you know.
Especially for someone who suffers with mental health like I do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and you've got to allow for change. I think, you know, I find it very difficult to, you know, I'm a creature of habit, and subconsciously so. You know, my wife keeps telling me, you know, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that, you want to, you know, I don't know whether that's just, you know, symptomatic of, you know, getting older, or whether that's just, you know, the way I'm programmed. Again, structure, you know, this concept of, you know, maybe I should have been in the army. I don't know, you know.
I mean, we outside our house, we have a basement flat, and all the Jasmine grew up. We've grown it since we moved in, all over the railings. So we live in like those white houses in Pimlico, and it was like all the railings were covered in Jasmine. And the other day, my partner cut it all down.
Right.
And it affected me in such a bad way.
Right.
There's a thing of such beauty to cut it down, although it needed, because we want to take this Jasmine with us, because it's established it was a gift. It just really upset me for 2 days.
Right,
I mean, it spiraled me out of control. I was in such a dark place over it. So he could put up his bloody Christmas decorations. And I'm like, cut down the beautiful Jasmine, which it was really symbolic. It was really effective. And I had that whole hour of therapy around it this morning because it affected me so much. And it's just like, you know, it's just me being symbolic in other areas, and just, you know, and as I got to keep remember, there is no change without change. And I need a bigger space. I need to be in a bigger place, in a better place. So the Jasmine had to be cut down. But, you know, I was like, leave it for the next people that move in. And it's like, no, and chopped it all. I was like,
I got myself a jet washer last week, and it's I have a leaf blower and a jet washer, and a lot of people probably, you know, find those things pretty, you know, uncompatible, but I get such a buzz out of
jet washers are amazing, aren't they?
Oh,
but don't do what I did the day we got it. I had bare feet, and I thought, I wonder what it feels like on my skin.
I did that.
About 4 layers of skin off.
Yeah, I know. And my dance partner the other day, who I'm working with on Dancing on Ice, she said, you must be careful. You know, I saw you jet washing without shoes on. Because I wanted to do this. My daughter, I wanted to do this stupid little TikTok thing, but I did spray over my feet, but they're fine. But there is something... there is something quite, you know, exciting about, particularly with stone, and you know, when it sort of clears and cleans, and it just comes up $1 million.
Green slime off, and you do it.
Yeah, correct.
It's for somebody who has OCD. Then I will be there all day getting the last little bits off because I can't cope.
Right. So you've got one. You've got.
Oh yeah, we've got one. I get David to do jet washing.
Right.
I'm too. Since I burnt my foot with it, it's kind of enough. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Someone with uncommon sense like myself is not a good place to be with a jet wash, because I start screaming at people's windows and just, you know, unlogically thinking. Well, look, I love you, and Ginty was right. It just was going to get on, and all those years ago in the kitchen. But thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
Don't be silly, Tony. You know, as I said, you know, I'm a fan, and we saw each other outside a juice shop, you know, a few months back, and I recognized you, and it's sort of one of the first times I've sort of, you know, in a social media sense. But I think what you do is you promote, you know, a great sense of humor, but you're very focused on, you know, bringing the truth. And you're very focused on, you know, mental health and making sure the people that need it have a voice, I guess. And good for you, mate. Good for you. Keep up the good work.
I'd say break a leg, but don't break a leg in boats on ice. Don't do a Trisha Goddard. Spray off my
No, I won't, man. I won't do that. All right, babe. Take care, man.
Big love, man. God bless.
Peace.
See you later, Jason. Amazing.
Yeah, man. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care, man. Bye.